Good morning, and thank you to John and Timothy for inviting me back. Now you have to put up with an ex-Rabobanker and a current Rabobanker for the next two sessions. And I'm reminded, probably a lot of you know Dr. Piers Lyons of Ortec. And the first time I ever spoke to Ortec, he said, I've got a problem now to introduce the next speaker. First, he's a banker, don't like them. Secondly, he's English, don't like them. And now I'm going to invite an English banker, so you have me. So this morning I'm going to talk on really the four, so far, challenges that the industry have had to confront, and they're still confronting. So, and just a little bit on what I do. I help integrations in Thailand, China, India, Brazil, cooperatives, and even a turkey company in Virginia. And I'm lucky enough to help companies along the whole chain, genetics, AviaGen, a hatchery company, Past Reform, and Stork, and also animal health companies. So I'm lucky enough to go all around the world, and I get well paid for a hobby. Okay, so a little bit the timeline. I came into this industry in 1989 through Rabobank. Rabobank did a debt equity conversion into Frango Sul, which is now the fourth largest company in Brazil. And at that time, the whole meat industry, we had really no significant external factors. Yes, we had our usual problems of good crops, bad crops, too much competition, etc. But we really, until the mid-1990s, when BSE broke out, there was nothing outside which really affected us. And poultry, we lived in a paradise until bird flu, which I'm calling Challenge 1. And then in 2006, the new dynamics in the grains brought Challenge 2, and at that time I said we were between a rock and a hard place. And then in 2009, we're still between that rock, maybe, and a hard place. And we are in a black hole of unknown depth economics. That's Challenge 3, and Challenge 4 I will leave as a bit of a surprise for later. So let's go to Challenge 1. The consequences of outbreaks of AI start to be predictable. This is the country of Turkey, and you see here the first outbreak, nobody dies, consumption goes down a lot, comes back again, somebody might die, goes down to zero, comes back again, but very much depends on the media. One of the problems we had in Thailand, and we really didn't deal with it too well, and we had the media against us. We were on the front page for about 90 consecutive days, and it became a political issue. But these days, this is pretty well par for the course, this sort of behavior in most countries. Now, just to add to what my Thai colleague said, this might even be the same photograph actually, but Thailand really has made great strides. And now, if you are an exporter to Europe, there's a program ashore chicken production, and that is obligatory. And I go around the world, and I can assure you that the Thai broiler grow-out today, if it's not the best, it is right up there with the best. You know, people still think of Thailand of raising chicken over fish ponds. That is not the case. You will not get into that broiler farm unless you go through procedures which are normal for breeding farms in other parts of the world. But unfortunately, in Asia, we have to live side by side with this. This is not Thailand. It's not Indonesia, by the way. It's a bit farther north. And we have this also as our distribution system. So, you know, we will never stop bird flu on a global scale with this sort of going on. And there's Egypt, and that's a chicken house on the roof. So with China and Thailand out of the raw meat, so the consequence for the market of bird flu, Brazil picked up about 150,000 tons of boneless leg a year, and 90,000 tons of skinless, boneless breast to Europe. And this is about 350 million live bird, which is about 6% of all Brazil's output per annum. And I will come back to that later. So on to Challenge 2. So I can't blame it all on the ethanol program, otherwise I won't be let out alive. And the increased demand from the brick companies. So we permanently changed the cost structure of the protein industry. It is permanent. And we got used to a decade of $100 a ton CBOT, and obviously that was not very good. It was good for us in the protein industry, and a lot of our growth came from this. Obviously not too good for you the farmers. And then we moved up, and it was mentioned yesterday that Europe had the problem with the wheat, bought a lot from Brazil at a high premium, and the price moved up. Now, the biggest problem, looking at the future, is as an industry, we were basically able to pass this together with the corresponding soy increases. We were able to get our prices up to the consumer basically on a global level. When we went and you had your weather problems in the US, etc., when we got here, none of us were able to pass those prices on. And the worrying thing is that in Atlanta in early this year, the consensus was we would slowly over the next decade, as oil went back up and sort of settled out at over $100 a barrel, that we would go back to $5 to $6 a bushel, and we would be up in this range. And my worry is we will not be able to pass this along to the consumer, and I will go why a little bit later. So, basically, our live bird prices went up, cost went up by about 30%, nearly worldwide. Now, this also caused a shift from pork and beef to poultry. The global data is a bit distorting because of the problems that China had with the earthquake, the bad weather, and the blue ear disease. And to give some idea of the effect of China in all this, it seems that China lost about 50 million hogs. Now, Brazil is number 4 in the world and only produces 38 million. So China lost a Brazil plus 30–40%. But this is what happened in the UK, and the 4 weeks ending December 2008 compared to 2007. And you can see that overall meat volume at retail was up 1%, but chicken was up 10%, beef was down 5%, and pork was down 3%. And we have seen this in other places, although it is distorted when you start to reduce herds of both pigs and cattle. Then you get very low price beef and pork, and that affects. So we really not got real data for long term on the effect of this. So, strategic consequences. We've already had the number 2 Brazilian beef company, Marfrig. They've acquired a lot of OSI portfolio. Acquired also 3 Brazilian poultry companies and 1 quite large European poultry producer. And now in the newspaper every day, will it or won't it happen? You have the largest global beef company, the JBS Group, who are all over the world, and they are very strongly rumored to be negotiating the purchase of Pilgrim's Pride, which probably because of their reduction are number 2, but they're very close to number 1, the global poultry producer. So it seems that the beef companies are hedging their bets, and if this happens, it will be an earthquake in the US. To have a Brazilian beef company sitting at the table of quite a gentleman's club in the National Chicken Council, it will be, I'm not quite sure, a breath of fresh air, but it will change a lot of things.